Hello everyone and welcome to Building an Effective Cover Letter. So we're going to be talking about just the simple and fundamental steps you can take to build an effective cover letter. Much like a resume, there are no hard and fast rules that say the cover letter must do this or must not do this, but there are some general guidelines that you should follow in order to make a nice presentable cover letter for yourself. Okay, and it seems sometimes cover letters can seem a little daunting, but I promise if you just kind of follow these simple little guidelines, you'll see that it's actually very easy. So why include a cover letter? Okay, well, like a resume, it's a great selling tool. Okay, you're going to be selling yourself in the cover letter. You're saying this is why you should hire me for the position. It informs the reader or the employer why you are interested in this specific position for this specific company. Okay, that's important because unlike a resume, which is typically generic, okay, in other words, you can send one resume to multiple job openings, a cover letter, on the other hand, is going to be tailored to a specific job opening and a specific company. Okay, so the cover letter typically you might change a few details depending on who you're sending it to and what kind of job it is. So you're always tailoring it to the specific job opening and that specific company. It makes the employer want to read your resume. All right, so typically the cover letter will be read first, okay? And if you make it interesting and make your skills and accomplishments really pop, then they'll be that much more interested to read the next document, which would then be your professional resume. Now, the cover letter is a summary of your best qualities and skills in relation to the specific job you are applying for. So unlike the resume, which is like an expansive list of your whole work history and all of your different duties and skills and accomplishments, the cover letter is you're really just selecting the best qualities and skills for that particular job. So you look at what the job needs. So if you're looking at the job posting, you'll see those keywords, what they're looking for, and then you'll look over your work history and say, okay, this is the stuff that really, really applies to this job. So I'm going to highlight these things. You're not going through everything. You just want to highlight the cream of the crop, okay, in terms of that particular job. And that's why you should include a cover letter. So now let's just talk about some cover letter basics. Of course, you want to have your name and contact information. And it's going to be formatted the same way it is in your resume. We'll talk about this again in a minute, but typically your name and contact information will be in the header, okay, up top, and just like it is in your resume. And you want the two to be identical. It just makes it look much more professional if the formatting for your name and contact information is the same in both documents. You want to address who you are and what you do or hope to do. So, of course, you'll say something like, you'll introduce yourself and you'll inform the reader of your reason for writing. So you'll say something like, you know, I've been an assistant manager for X amount of time, something along those lines. So you're just telling them who you are currently, and then what you want to do with that company. Okay, and it's important. Remember that with a cover letter, you're always trying to address what you can bring to the company, not what the company can do for you. So you're always trying to say, I've acquired all these skills that I want to contribute to your company or to your organization. You want to include your job title and job code, if applicable. Okay, so you won't always see a job code, but sometimes you'll see these in job postings. It might be called the job code, it might be called the requisition number, any number of things. You'll see some sort of unique number given to that particular posting. It's good to include this because it helps the hiring staff sort of match up your cover letter to a specific job opening in case there's any kind of confusion. Especially if it's a big company, it's always good to have that job code so they know exactly what you're applying for. You want to indicate why you are writing, okay? And typically, it's because you want to get an interview, okay? So you will actually write that into the cover letter, typically at the end. And you don't just want to say something like, I hope to get an interview with your company. You want to sound confident. You want to sound like you will get the interview. So maybe something like what you see here. I am confident that my skills and experience will grant me an interview. Because again, you want to sound confident and you really want to demonstrate that to the person reading this cover letter. It's always good to indicate where the resume is located. So nowadays, things are often done electronically. So you'll be attaching that resume to your email, perhaps, along with your cover letter, or maybe you're uploading the resume. A lot of times, job postings on a company website, they'll they'll have you upload your documents to their website or to some other external application. So you just want to indicate that in the cover letter, whether it's, my resume is attached or my resume is uploaded. If you have a hard copy, then you can indicate that as well. So like you see here, it says enclosed. So you'll say something like my resume is enclosed. Okay, so just whatever form you're using, always just indicate where the resume is located. It's good to have a signature, especially if it's a hard copy. Make sure you sign it because it just looks very professional. You can do this on electronic documents if you want. For instance, sometimes you can have an image of your signature, or you can use a script type of font and just use that as a sort of signature on the electronic page. Just be careful if you do choose that, which is fine, but if you do choose to do that, don't use any kind of font that's over the top. Just a nice conservative, traditional looking script font is perfect. All right, so now let's talk about some of the more specific elements of the cover letter. So as I said before, you're going to have your contact information, and this will typically be in the header or just basically the top of the page. So you'll have that information, and again, you want it to match to your resume. You want them to both look identical, the way that's presented. Then you'll have a date, okay, the date that you're actually writing or typing this cover letter. And then you want to have the company contact information under that information. Now, this is not, you won't always see this, but sometimes it's a good idea to include a what's called a RE or RE line, and that stands for concerning or regarding. It's good to have this because it's a great place to put a job name and or a job code. Now, I say that because sometimes we tend to put that information in the first paragraph of your cover letter. But if you do that, you're kind of taking up space that you could use for other more important things, like things to really sell yourself. So go ahead and just put that specific information in a separate line under the company contact information. And then you'll have an address line, dear so-and-so. It's always a good idea to try to find out who it is that's going to be reading the cover letter. If you know the name of the person, by all means use it. Okay, Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so, their last name. It always just shows that you did the little bit of extra work to actually find their name, and then you included it in the cover letter. Now, if you don't know, if there's just no way of really finding out, especially with like a big company, dear hiring manager is fine. That's totally fine as well. To whom it may concern is a little outdated nowadays, so dear hiring manager is a little more contemporary, a little more current, okay, and it just sounds a little better. Then, of course, we get into the cover letter itself. So you're going to have an introduction or an introductory paragraph, and this will be a concise paragraph summarizing your interest in the position and your qualifications. So you'll just be saying something like, "This is who I am. This is what I do now," and just kind of take some of the really major qualities of your current position and your history, and just kind of try to put them into a nice 1 or 2 sentences, just to say, I have a lot of experience doing this, and this is why I'd be a great benefit to your company. Boom, there's your introduction. Now we come to the body of the cover letter, and this is typically 1 to 2 short paragraphs highlighting your qualifications and accomplishments. So again, you're going to choose these based on the job posting. Look at the keywords they're using, look at the qualifications they require, and then match those to your experience and to your qualifications, and then highlight them. Also, do company research. This is another thing that's a big, a big thumbs up to prospective employers and hiring managers, because it shows that you did the legwork. You visited the company website, maybe you looked at their mission statement. So look at that company research and see how your experience and your goals match up with theirs. Okay, and try to address those in the body of the cover letter as well. You can also do this as in a bulleted style list, like in a resume, but you just want to make sure, first of all, that you have a paragraph and then a list and then a paragraph at the bottom. You don't want to have an entire list to close out your cover letter. But more importantly, do not copy and paste from the resume. And that doesn't include just bulleted sentences. That includes really anything. You don't just want to regurgitate from the resume, because then it kind of shows a little bit of like you didn't really take the cover letter too seriously. So just you want to change the wording as much as you can, and don't just copy and paste from the resume. Now, the last paragraph will be your conclusion. Again, this is going to be just one paragraph. You're going to indicate where your resume is located, as I discussed before. And also, as I discussed before, you'll be saying why you are writing, which is usually to get an interview. So you'll say something like, I'm confident that my skills will grant me an interview. My resume has been uploaded separately. Thank you for your time and consideration. Something along those lines. Just a nice, concise conclusion that indicates all of these things. And then, of course, you just want to close the letter with something like respectfully, sincerely. Okay, those are like the kind of the two big go-tos. Either of those is fine. Respectfully, and then your name. And like I said, if you want to put a signature in there, by all means, go right ahead. Oops. Sorry about that. Let me bring this up and get that title showing. There we go. So formatting the cover letter. This is in terms of more of the structure of the cover letter itself. So you want it to be just one page. Unlike the resume, where you can sometimes get away with a couple more pages, the cover letter should really just be one page, because it's supposed to be concise and really just home in on your key experience. You want to have 1-inch margins, just like the resume. If necessary, you can go to 1/2 inch, but only on the left and right sides. Don't do the top and the bottom, because then it's going to look a little sloppy. But really try to shoot for that 1 inch around all sides if you can. 10 to 12 point font size is ideal. You don't want to go over 12 and you don't want to go under 10. Again, otherwise it looks amateurish. You don't want to do that. 10 to 12 points is fine throughout. And just stick to one. Okay, you don't want to be changing the font all the time. Everything except your header, everything else, just keep one size. And of course, along on the same note, you want to have a formal font type. Okay, again, just like with the resume, Times New Roman or Arial are two really good choices. Typically, the cover letter will be a paragraph style. Now, you're going to have single space lines with space between paragraphs. You don't necessarily have to have space between paragraphs, but it does kind of help the overall look and helps to sort of separate each sort of key point if you have the space between paragraphs. But you definitely want to have single space lines in those paragraphs, because then it's going to stretch the whole letter out. It's going to go beyond one page. It's a little harder to read. So single space looks great. And of course, you want to keep the sentences short but informative. So what I mean by that is try to, you really just want to use, again, less is more. Try and convey your key skills, but in as few words as possible. Okay, keep those sentences short. If bullets are used, these should only be for part of the body. So I said this before. So maybe you'll have like a little sort of leading paragraph, and then you'll introduce the bullet points. And then after the bullet points, make sure your conclusion is a paragraph. Don't end it with bullet points. It just doesn't look very professional. So be sure to conclude with a paragraph. And again, as I said a couple times, make sure that your contact information up in that header matches the resume header. All right, so let's just wrap this up quickly for your cover letter. Let's wrap up the key points here. So the cover letter, it's going to be a brief letter, 3 to 4 paragraphs, okay, and it highlights your qualifications and accomplishments. You want to tailor the cover letter toward the specific position and specific company, okay, that's like rule number 1. Don't regurgitate the resume. Be sure to select those qualifications and accomplishments that best match the specific position. Do company research. Describe how your unique experience would benefit their unique company mission. And be sure to indicate the specific job title and job code if applicable, the reason you are writing, and the location of the resume. Okay, so again, these are just the fundamental things that you should do in every cover letter, and they're pretty simple. Once you get these down, you get that first cover letter done, and then all you really have to do is just, if you apply to another job, maybe just go back, tweak a few of the details, and you're good to go. Okay, so it's actually pretty simple to do a cover letter. I highlighted this in the resume PowerPoint, but I just want to go over these again. These are some library resources that are available remotely. You just need a library card to use them. So first of all, we have the Ferguson's Career Guidance Center. So you can search job and internship postings. There are tips on writing resumes and cover letters and performing interviews. They provide industry overviews and profession profiles. So if you're curious about certain types of jobs, they give you descriptions of those. They have expert career advice articles, which are being posted all the time, and those articles include coverage of fast-growing and high-paying jobs, if you're interested. And there are resources for education planning and finding colleges, nursing schools, and vocational and technical schools. Okay, the other big one we have, the other database, is the Job and Career Accelerator. It has many of the same features as Ferguson's. It also includes a resume and cover letter builder, which you can try out. I encourage you to try to build it from scratch, but the builder might give you a good place to start. And the only thing with Job and Career Accelerator is that you must create a profile. It's pretty simple. There's really not a lot of personal data they need, really just your name, your email, and a password, and that's pretty much it. So you just put in that information, and it just allows you to save your searches. It allows you to save any documents you created, so resumes, cover letters, things like that. Okay, so those are some of the great resources we have through the library. Again, they're available remotely with your library card. That's all you need to get onto those. Okay, so I hope this really helped you out with building a cover letter. Hope it was informative. So good luck and take care.